So, mythical faction guardians are coming to raid. Who could have thought? Who could have guessed? And this might be one of the most controversial progression updates we've had in a long time. Because let's be honest, it's not for most of the players. It is not even for most of the spenders. This is for the absolute top, the elite, the top end of the player base. The Krakens, the ultimate Krakens, the Cthulhus, right? Even the normal Krakens, they will not benefit from this that much, maybe a little bit, but not not to the maximum. So if you thought the gap between free to play and spenders was large already, well, Plarium may have just introduced a new gap: whales versus Krakens. So for anyone that hasn't seen the update yet, mythical champions are getting their own faction guardian system, similar to what we already have with epics and legendaries. Right here you can see it. This is what it looks like right now, and we will get another section for mythical champions with similar stats, just a little bit more accuracy, 45 accuracy, 45 resistance, and 15 speed instead of 10 speed. That means duplicate mythicals will now provide account-wide stat boosts to other mythicals from the same faction. But what does that actually mean? What does it mean? How will it affect the game? So who actually has duplicate mythicals? Me, for example, I do have mythical dupes, and I've spent quite a bit. Not a crazy amount. I mean, it also comes down to the perspective, right? Some people would say I'm a Kraken, but I'm really not. If you look at the top end, right? I'm maybe a whale. I would consider myself a whale, but also not as much anymore. All right, so these are my only two dupes. Right here you can see it. Frolny and Krixia, okay? Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 mythicals that I pulled, I got two dupes. All right? So what I could do is get 10% more HP on my dwarf mythicals, which I have two of, and 10% more HP for Empress and Krixia. So this doesn't really matter for low spenders. Dolphins don't care about this one, right? Bigger spenders, not really. Only the ones that are investing an unholy amount of money. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands, okay? And mythicals are, one of the rarest thing to get in Raid Shadow Legends. I mean, or like not the rarest, but the most expensive, let's say it like this, besides the souls. So for the vast majority of players, mythical faction guardians might as well not exist, okay? It doesn't change anything for most of the players. For 99.99%, okay, of the player base, this will not help in any way. So if you think about it, big spenders or like the top spenders already had advantages, okay? More champs, better gear, not necessarily, but most of the time the case. Faster progression, but there was also still a difference between whales and true Krakens. Whales, they spend a lot, and Krakens, they spend an absurd amount. Okay, sometimes you can't even imagine that, or it is so surreal to even think about that for the normal person, right? And this update specifically rewards duplicate mythicals, which means it targets the absolute highest spend bracket. It kind of creates a new hierarchy, right? Like the free-to-play at the bottom, small spenders, the whales, the Krakens, and then the absolute top, the celestial Cthulhus, okay? They just grew a few more tentacles, basically. So as of right now, the problem is, though, that there are not many mythicals in the game, okay? So if you add faction guardians, you will get the stat bonus for like 2, maximum 3 mythicals. We will get another Sacred Order. We have 2 in High Elves, 2 in Barbarians. We only have 1 in Gizmags, so theoretically, if you want to fill up the faction guardians, you have to get 10 Gizmags, right? But before you go for 10 Gizmags, or before you use your 10 Gizmags as faction guardians, it is better to empower them. So basically what it means is after you empower your mythicals, this is the next step, okay? This gives the Krakens something to do, something to work towards, because if you have your mythicals fully empowered, and that is what most top spenders have, and multiple copies, right? Like 2, 3 of the same one plus 4. Now there's no interest in primals anymore, right? Right? Why would you buy primals if you don't benefit anything from it, right? Other than getting more dupes, and it's not helping your account at all. So I can understand from that perspective that they wanted to give them at least the feeling of, okay, I'm working towards something here if I buy more primals. But at the same time, it creates this insane power creep on mythicals. And what it actually does, so let's compare, okay? So for a mythical champion, you will get 90 resistance, 90 accuracy, and 20 speed, okay? If you have a 6-star soul. I mean, I'm not counting the other stuff. I'm just saying, like, let's just talk about the 5-star bonus and the 6-star bonus, okay? Or let's just talk about the 6-star bonus alone, okay? 20 speed, okay? If you have a 6-star soul on a mythical champion. On a legendary champion, you will get 15 speed, okay? So you already have a 5 speed advantage on a 6-star mythical soul compared to a legendary 6-star soul. But there was one thing that legendary champions had that mythicals didn't have, and that is faction guardians. So for the legendary champions, that was a balance mechanic, I want to say. Something that balances at least a little bit the relation between legendary champions and mythicals. Mythicals are pretty much here, and legendaries are like right after them, I would say, okay? Now, with the recent Void Legendary releases and so on, maybe they moved up, like, on the same level, but those Faction Guardian stat bonuses, they kept them there somehow, okay? They kept them there. But now if we get the mythical Faction Guardians, and at some point, those top players, they will fill the whole Faction Guardian section up, right? And they will get 15 plus speed. So now we're talking about a plus 10 speed advantage on mythical champions, okay? Once they fill up the Faction Guardians completely. And, the Krakens, the big spenders will do it first. After that, at some point, the whales will do it as well. And like I already mentioned, it only creates this imbalance, so it pushes the mythicals further up and the legendary champions stay at the same spot. And if we talk about empowerment, it is the same for both rarities, right? There's no difference. So the empowerment, there's no difference, but empowerment for mythical champions at the moment is better than, filling up the Faction Guardians, because, for example, prime example is Gizmek. There's only one, and if you empower Gizmek 4 times, you will get 40% defense instead of the 10% defense, 40% HP instead of one time the 10%. You will get more accuracy, more resistance, the same amount of speed, more crit damage, more crit rate. So in general, the empowerment at the moment is better because there is not a huge variety of mythical champions that it would actually make sense. And this is also another thing that I don't understand why they introduce it now when we only have a few mythical champions in certain factions. We don't even have a first Argonauts mythical yet. Like, it just feels premature. It feels premature. And the only reason I see why they want to do it is to make more money, make the top end players make them keep spending and buy more primals again. Because if you have your third Theodosia at +4, I can understand if you say, hey, hold on, there's nothing I can get from buying more primals, so I'm gonna, slow down on buying primals. And that is probably what happened, and they noticed it. But back to the Faction Guardian bonus. So like I said, this felt like a balancing mechanism between legendary champions and mythicals, and that is now gone, and it honestly doesn't feel good for me personally, and I think for most players, because we already had a hard time against those Krakens, and now, it's only getting worse, basically. It's only getting worse. And every time something like this happens where it widens the gap between the bottom and the top, I don't really like it. I don't like to see it. I want to keep a fair, or at least somewhat balanced PvP experience. And every time something like this happens, it is working against that, and it kills the competitive nature step by step every time something like this happens. I know it's a pay-to-win game. It always has been a pay-to-win game, but even though it was pay-to-win, it was somewhat balanced in a type of way, okay? I face a lot of big guys in Live Arena, and, I lose a lot, and that's okay. That's okay. I have no problem with that. But also, sometimes I win against them. And I know that the chances are slim, but there are chances. And there will still be chances, but, considering that those guys will have more stats now even, the chances will go down. The chances will significantly go down at some point, and that's where we are at. So, if you ask me the question, is it good or bad? I think both. I think it's both. Depends on where you are at, in what bracket. It is good for the ones that are spending an unholy amount on this game and getting all the mythical champions 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and don't know what to do with it, right? So there has to be something for them to be able to do with those dupes, obviously. But it's bad for everybody else. That's basically how it is, okay? It's good for a small group, a very, very small group of people, and bad for everybody else. That's how it is. But yeah, guys, I'm curious, what do you think? Are Mythical Faction Guardians a healthy endgame system, or just another way to push spending even higher? Let me know in the comments below. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel so I can buy more primals and fill up my Mythical Faction Guardians.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And if you like this video, YouTube's gonna think that you like this one as well. Take care and see you in the next one.